Let's say China.
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 China. China. China. China.
There are next door neighbors, and you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.
You go over to China.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Trump tweeting out insults to Angela Merkel. What's he doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host.
Yes. Hello, and welcome. I am James Andrews, and you are listening to So This Happened, the only news you need if you just spent 3.5 hours sat in traffic because a few specks of snow were falling from the sky. It is Friday, the 8th of December, 2017, and today the White House said the president does not have dementia. The president himself said, "I will take a medical test to prove it." Now, this denial comes after he gave his speech yesterday in which he said Israel was going to be in charge of Jerusalem from now on. And many people after the speech said he sounded like he was sick with something along the lines of dementia. And I'm going to play it for you, and I can't decide whether he just sounds drunk, high, or a man who has dementia. See what you think.
It is time for the many who desire peace to expel the extremists from their midst. It is time for all civilized nations and people to respond to disagreement with reasoned debate, not violence. And it is time for young and moderate voices all across the Middle East to claim for themselves a bright and beautiful future. So today, let us rededicate ourselves to a path of mutual understanding and respect. Let us rethink old assumptions and open our hearts and minds to possible and possibilities. And finally, I ask the leaders of the region, political and religious, Israeli and Palestinian, Jewish and Christian and Muslim, to join us in the noble quest for lasting peace. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Israel. God bless the Palestinians. And God bless the United States.
This is so good. The United States. The United States. And Donald Trump is claiming that he just had he was dry mouth. That's what it was. Or he had something in his tooth that he was trying to get out when he went on the United States. I don't know. That's how I say it when I'm drunk, actually. You know, where do you live, James? I live in the United States of America, motherfucker. You sound quite belligerent, apparently, when I'm drunk. Anyway, we look forward to the results of Donald Trump's medical test to determine whether or not he does, in fact, have United States. And if you go watch that video, it's so great because Mike Pence is behind him, and his head is just visible, and it appears to be just sitting on Donald Trump's shoulder. If you go to my Twitter account at So This Happened, I posted a picture of it because it was so good. It looks like this head of Mike Pence has just grown out of Donald Trump's shoulder. It's brilliant. And apparently when Mike Pence saw the footage, he remarked to Donald, "Oh, Donald, it's just a little head." And now we must turn our attention to the great state of Alabama. I gave you the pause for the music and it came in on time today. You guys you're on point today. That was brilliant. Well done. Thank you. Roy Moore is in trouble once again. It's been revealed that he gave a speech where he said the last time America was great, we had slavery. He went on to say, but you know, we all had a common goal, and everyone knew what they were supposed to be doing, and they knew their role in life, and it was great. And so you would think that with this newest revelation and the allegations of sexual misconduct against young girls, people in Alabama would start saying, he's just a bad egg, isn't he? We can't really elect him to be a senator, can we? He's not a very nice person. Well, unfortunately, that actually doesn't seem to be happening. Now, this election, December 12th, it's coming up really soon, and I feel it's really important that Roy Moore does not become a senator. Unfortunately, there are many thousands of people in Alabama who just don't see it that way. I'm going to play a clip for you now of a chap who calls himself a Christian. And from what I know of the Bible and Jesus and God, this is not a particularly Christian attitude. So sit back and enjoy some backwards fuck from Alabama talking.
Hey, good morning, folks. Coach Dave here. Just been putting off making this video as long as I could. I don't know why I just did. Listen, listen. I'm going to be very, very honest here. Okay, this is going out to my Christian friends. Okay, I don't care what Judge Moore did 40 years ago. Okay, as far as I know, he didn't commit any crime. What he did at age 32 doesn't really have a whole lot to do with a life led of exemplary Christian behavior, Christian leadership. Let me call time out here a second. I don't know about you. Do you have any idea what I was like 40 years ago? Do you have any idea some of the dastardly things that I did 40 years ago? Do you know that I'm an unconvicted felon? What does that mean? I did a lot of the things I got away with 40 years ago. But I got born again back in 1987, and it radically transformed me. It did for me what a phone booth did for Clark Kent. We believe in grace. Christians believe in grace. We believe it's under the blood. And folks, we look at what Judge Roy Moore did 40 years ago, and Christians are the ones today throwing the greatest stones at him. He committed no crime. He was charged with nothing, and he's lived an exemplary Christian life for at least 30 years. What would you do if they went back into your life and dug up stuff 30 years ago? Don't we understand grace? Don't we understand redemption? Don't you as a Christian owe Judge Roy Moore the same grace and forgiveness that Christ afforded you? My goodness, what an opportunity for Christians to wake up and explain to the world what grace, redemption, and the death of Jesus Christ is all about. I don't care what Judge Moore did 40 years ago. I believe he's a born-again, forgiven, godly man, and I stand with Judge Roy Moore today. Stand up and be counted. I'm a supporter of Judge Roy Moore. God bless you.
Okay, Coach Dave, let's have a look at what you just said there. You don't care what Roy Moore did 40 years ago. Let me ask you a question. If you had a daughter 40 years ago who was 14, and this Judge Roy Moore, which I don't get because he's not a judge, he got fired from being a fucking judge. I love that they still call him Judge Roy Moore. I love that. It's sort of, if you get fired, you're no longer that. You can't just keep that name. You know, it's like a doctor. If you get your doctorate taken away from you because you kill somebody on the operating table and, you can't be a doctor anymore, you can't go around calling yourself, no, I'm Dr. James Andrews. I mean, I'm not actually a doctor anymore, but I was, so I'm just going to keep Doctor. I like the way it sounds, Dr. James Andrews. I sound quite important. But anyway, tangents aside, let's say that Coach Dave had a young daughter 40 years ago who Roy Moore had come on to and sexually messed with. I don't think he'd be quite so forgiving. This is just a case of, I don't know them, so fuck it, I don't care. He's a good Christian man now, and, grace and forgiveness, blah, 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 etc., etc. Well, the problem with that, Coach Dave, is that you can't just say, you did a crime a little while ago, you were a pervert, you sexually assaulted women, but you know what? It's fine because you've got forgiveness, and so you're okay. In God's eyes, you're fine. Well, unfortunately, Coach Dave, the world doesn't work that way. If you commit a crime like sexually molesting young girls, even if it was 40 years ago, you still have to be held responsible and accountable for those actions. Because you see, Coach Dave, there is a thing called separation of church and state. So if you believe that God's forgiven Roy Moore, great, fantastic. God's forgiven Roy Moore. Pretty sure he hasn't, but there we go. God's forgiven Roy Moore. The state has not forgiven Roy Moore because Roy Moore has not admitted to doing anything wrong, which I do believe a very strong biblical principle is you can be only forgiven if you seek redemption, right? Am I wrong? No, I'm not wrong. I'm absolutely right. You can only be forgiven if you ask for forgiveness. Well, Judge Roy Moore has continually denied these allegations, which there are so many witnesses, it's very hard to believe that these are not true. So if he's not asked for forgiveness, he can't be forgiven. That's in your fucking Bible, mate. I'm not making this up. And what is really scary about that particular video right there is that Coach Dave wasn't saying, no, Roy Moore didn't do that. He didn't interfere with 14-year-old girls. No, he was perfectly okay with that. He was saying, yeah, but it was 40 years ago. He didn't get caught. So, he's good to go. Because he said the same thing about himself. He said, I'm an unconvicted felon, which I think is a brand new phrase that Coach Dave just invented. But you're not a felon because you weren't caught. You fucking got away with it, which is exactly what Roy Moore did. It doesn't mean it was right, mate. It just means you didn't get caught. Well, Roy Moore has now been caught and he now has to face the consequences for that. And I'm sorry because I'm getting really, really wound up here, but it is staggering to my mind that people are still okay with this and saying, you know what, yeah, he might have, fucked around with some little girls 40 years ago, but that was 40 years ago. He's a great man now, and we can't let a Democrat get in the Senate. We cannot allow that because then President Trump won't be able to do the thing that he's trying to do, so it doesn't matter. He might have fiddled with little girls. He might be a pedo. Yeah, Roy Moore might be a paedophile, but I'm okay with it. Because it was 40 years ago and he's been forgiven. So, well, that makes everything okay. And bloody hellfire, it's a Friday and my blood pressure is up right now. My face has gone red. If you could see it, it is red. And I don't like to do that on a Friday because it's sort of leading into the weekend. We like to have something nice to end on. So I have dug up a story to end the week on, which I hope you'll like. This took place yesterday in the city of Zion in Illinois, and it involves an overweight raccoon. See, I have you right there, right? Overweight raccoon, you're picturing the little fellow and you're going, that is quite cute, James, well done. Anyway, this particular overweight raccoon got himself stuck in a storm drain. Now, whether he was trying to get in or out, I don't know. But it seems that his belly could not get through. But his arse end was in. The belly was stuck and his head was out, and he was sort of freaking out a little bit. So some residents called the police and said, look, there's a fat raccoon stuck in the storm cellar and he can't get out. He's trying to get out, he can't get out. Could you do something? So the City of Zion Police Department went and they rescued the pathetic but adorable creature. And it is quite common for raccoons to put on a little bit of extra weight this time of the year. They're fattening up so they don't get too cold in the winter. But this fella, he ate it all. He was enormous. And on the photographs, you can see him there with him stuck in the drain and his head's out. There's bread around him. Now, I don't know whether the police put the bread there to see if he could get himself out, or whether this fat bastard actually took the bread with him and said, I'm going to take this for later. I'm going to go down in the sewers where I live with this bread. Oh shit, I think I'm stuck. Oh, god damn it, I'm stuck in the fucking drain again. You can almost hear his wife, down below him. Harold, I told you, you fat bastard, stop eating between meals. Look what you've gone and done now. You've only gone and got yourself stuck in the bloody drain. This is embarrassing. What is it? What the neighbours going to think? They're going to, oh, Harold, look at that fat bastard stuck in the drain. It's embarrassing, Harold. That part may not have happened. But the raccoon did get stuck and he was freed and now he's off on his merry way. He probably won't be going down that drain anymore, but he's all right. So anyway, that's it. End of the show, end of the week. Thank you so much for listening. We'll do it all over again on Monday. And unfortunately, sad news. Next week is going to be the last So This Happened of 2017. That's right, we'll be back in 2018, which is the future. There are going to be flying cars and little tiny pizzas you put in hydrators and hydrate to make into a full-size pizza. Anyway, listen, have a great weekend, and we'll do this all over again on Monday. Take care and be excellent to each other.